The second assignment that you're going to work on today, which is Monday, March 28th, is 6.2 comparing and ordering. So when you're finished with 6.1 and you've submitted that assignment, you're going to go ahead and click on the one that says 6.2 comparing and ordering. And I am going to do a few examples with you, since again, I know most of this should be review from fifth and sixth grade. So when you start the section 6.2, you'll see that the topic is comparing and ordering fractions, decimals, and percentages. So you should be able to convert from one to another, okay? So let's just do a few together so that you can understand what I mean by that. And let me erase some of this from the previous slide. Okay, so the very first question says, oops, sorry, it's not letting me delete here. The first question says, how would you decide whether 3/5 or 59% is greater? So one of those is a fraction and one of those is a percentage. So what I would do is I would either convert the fraction to be a percentage or I would convert the percentage to be a fraction. It doesn't really matter what you decide, but you need to have them in the same format if they're not already, okay? So let's talk about fractions because we haven't reviewed fractions yet. But if you have a fraction and you are converting your fraction to a decimal, so step one to convert to a decimal, and you're definitely allowed to use a calculator for this, but you're going to take the numerator, 3, and you're going to divide it by the denominator. So if you take your calculator and you divide 3 by 5, that's numerator divided by denominator, you're going to get 0.6. Okay? So that's the decimal form of 3/5. And then again, to review what we did in the last video, to go from a decimal to a percentage, you're going to multiply by 100. So if I multiply 0.6 by 100, I'm going to get 60%. Okay? So now I already know which one's greater. I know that 60% or 3/5 is greater. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to write 3/5 as a percent, then compare to 59% to determine which one's greater. And I do know that 3/5 is greater because when it's written as a percent, 60% is greater than 59%. Okay, let's do another example. So once again, I have this time I actually have a decimal and a percentage, and I have to compare or tell which one's greater. Let me move my screen here so I have some more space. Okay, so if I'm looking at trying to determine if 9/10 is greater or 95% is greater, this is a decimal. And I know that if I'm going to convert from a decimal to a percentage, I'm going to multiply it by 100. So 0.9 written as a percentage would be 90%. So I know for a fact that 9/10 is less than 95%. Now, if I wanted to, I could have converted 95 percentage to a decimal. And remember, when you're going back the opposite direction, you're going to divide by 100. So 95% written as a decimal would be 0.95 or 95 hundredths. So again, you could either change the decimal to a percent and compare, or you could have changed the percent to a decimal to compare. Let's do at least one more example, and then you can try the rest on your own. And you definitely want to use a calculator. Okay, number 6 says, tell which is greater, 37/50ths, or 37%. So right away, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite 37/50ths as a decimal, and the way that I'm going to do that is numerator divided by denominator. 37 divided by 50, and I get 0.74, 74,